I didn't know much about it at the time, but then I started with Eric Berg and listening about the keto diet. And of course, it was a meat heavy diet, low carb, very low carb diet. And so I thought I would give it a try. He basically had a 3-step protocol to curing allergies, which was cutting all carbohydrates, getting on the keto diet, and also doing some intermittent fasting, and then taking vitamin D supplements. And so I did that. And actually within 4 weeks, my lifelong allergies were gone. So yeah, like when I tell my story, I like to focus on my 5-year-old son because that's really where I feel like we've had the biggest impact. And so whenever, like I said, he was 2 years old, he was diagnosed with a speech delay and a 1-year mental delay. And I was just completely baffled. I was like, what is going on here? And then at age 3, just 1 year after that diagnosis, I got him on the keto diet, which I said eventually turned into the carnivore diet 6 months later. So, and throughout that first year on this meat-based diet, this keto carnivore diet, I just noticed he was really getting smarter. And I remember we were at a birthday party with one of his classmates, and one of his classmates came up to me and he said, your son is learning really fast. And I was like, who says that? Like, who says that to a kid's parent, right? And so I was, yeah. And then after a year on the diet, I had a parent-teacher conference with his preschool teacher. And like I said, this was a special needs preschool that he was going to. And we had to go over his, disabilities, right? And so, and she said, well, you know what? He doesn't have any mental disabilities anymore. So he's actually fully caught up to grade level. And he doesn't have any mental disabilities.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
and that's what his preschool teacher told me. And she's like, he's at grade level, he's a normal kid. So and
Wow.
that was one
Yeah.
year into the diet.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting chapter of Carnivore Evolution. We're here today. I'm Victoria Olson, one of your hosts. Our co-host is Mark Ennis in Dublin. Hello, Mark.
How are
And
you, Victoria?
there, I'm fine. Thank you, sir. And today our guest is Patrick Coles. Patrick is a scientist who works for a tech firm, and he's written over 100 papers on physics and computer science. He's been a carnivore for at least 2 years, and he's gotten his whole family on carnivore as well. And he's here to tell us a story of his carnivore success. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Great, thank you so much for having me. Really nice to be here. And so should I go ahead and tell my story?
Yes,
Hmm.
we'd love to hear how you got interested in carnivore, how that happened. We know you cured some allergies with that, and just tell us from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, my health journey. So by the way, I'm 46 years old. And I would say 2 years ago, when I was 44, is whenever I really went down the rabbit hole of health. And part of it was for myself, and part of it was also for my family. And I do have kids. I have 4 kids, and everyone is on the carnivore diet now. And
Wow.
I'll get to their story.
Yeah.
It's been tremendous for not only my health, but for their health as well. But I can say how I got down this rabbit hole. Everyone has their own, story there. But for me, I had allergies my whole life for 40 years. And as a kid, I took antihistamines every single day. And, throughout my entire childhood, I took antihistamines. I also got allergy injections once a month. And when I finally decided to stop taking my medicine in my, late 20s, I still had allergies. And so it didn't actually cure anything. And then fast forward to my 40s, um, I was given advice by my doctor, uh, just the general physician, to eat more carbohydrates, eat more oatmeal, and because he said that would help to lower my cholesterol. And so I took his advice, and it actually made my allergies much worse. And I started to get allergy-induced sinus infections, and I was getting them recurring once every 3 months. I would
Wow.
get an allergy-induced sinus infection, and it would take me out for like 2 weeks. And so it was getting ridiculous. And I thought, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no reason that a human being should be allergic to every single thing in nature. Like, how should I be allergic to trees, grass, mold, weeds, dust, pollen, everything? It just didn't make like biological sense to me. And so I thought there must be a cure out there. And so I went on YouTube and I just searched for how do you cure allergies? And the two things that popped up were the keto diet and the carnivore diet. And I didn't know much about it at the time, but then I started with Eric Berg and listening about the keto diet. And of course, it was a meat heavy diet, low carb, very low carb diet. And so I thought I would give it a try. He basically had a three-step protocol to curing allergies, which was cutting all carbohydrates, getting on the keto diet, and also doing some intermittent fasting and then taking vitamin D supplements. And so I did that. And actually, within 4 weeks, my lifelong allergies were gone.
Wow.
And yeah, and so that was like really an eye-opening, shocking experience for me. Also, it was making me wonder about like what is going on with the medical system where they couldn't cure this, but yet this simple dietary change could. Uh, and so at that point, just after, 4 weeks on the keto diet, I said, hey guys, we got to get on this, like the whole family, right? We got to get the whole family on this because there's something magical about, cutting out all the carbohydrates. And when I did, by the way, do the keto diet, it was more of a ketovore meat heavy diet, right? So I was eating a lot of meat. But personally, I got some additional health gains that I wasn't even trying to get when I first started the diet. I did manage to cure my joint pain. I had tendonitis and patellar tendonitis in my knee. I had plantar fasciitis in my foot, and I had lower back pain and shoulder pain. And I thought for sure that those joint pains would be with me for the rest of my life. I just assumed that they were chronic, that they would always be with me for the rest of my life, that I would always have tendonitis. And then guess what? So after about, 2 months or so on this meat heavy keto diet, those went away too. And so all those joint pains went away. And actually, for the first time in a decade, could actually exercise. I had to previously quit doing sports and exercise because of all those joint pains. So I was previously like a soccer athlete. I played soccer in college and afterwards, and I had to quit soccer because of patellar tendonitis. And similarly, I was a track athlete. I used to run races. I ran 5Ks and 10Ks on the road.
Wow.
And but I had to quit the running as well because of my plantar fasciitis in my foot. So, you know, both of those injuries are basically inflammation-based injuries, and most likely they were probably caused by my high carb diet.
Mm.
And anyway, so I had to quit all sports because of these injuries. And then finally, I went on this sort of ketovore diet, and within a couple months, those injuries were gone. And I was able to
Really?
actually, yeah,
Really?
yeah. And I was able to actually join a gym like for the first time in a decade. So I went back to the gym.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so that was nice. And I could lift weights again, for the first time in years. And so that, I just wanted to very quickly say that those were kind of my uh, big health gains that I got. And now what I what I did want to point out is that I did transition eventually from keto to carnivore. Um, so we can get into why I made that transition, but keto is already quite close to carnivore,
Mm.
right? So I've already cut the carbohydrates at that point, and so it's already pretty close to getting there. But eventually, after about so I did basically the keto diet for about half a year, and
Mhm.
then after that half of a year, I dropped all the veggies as well and went full carnivore after that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and actually, why did I do that? Basically, I was listening to different communities, the keto community, like Eric Berg was, saying that, you should make sure to eat your vegetables. And then there was the carnivore community, like Anthony Chafee,
Mm.
saying plants are trying to kill you. And there's all these plant toxins.
Sure.
And I didn't know who was right. And that was very confusing to me. And I was aware that I was confused. I was like, okay, I know I'm confused and I don't know
Yeah.
who's right.
You and a lot of people. Yes,
Yeah.
you're not alone
Yeah.
in, yeah.
Yeah. And I finally decided to just do a blood test to see, how my markers were.
Mhm.
Overall, like my blood test was pretty good. It was showing that, I was relatively healthy. Um, this was after being on keto for some time. But I did have some very minor, like liver damage, like elevated liver enzymes, right? I had like
Really?
ALT elevated. So I was like wondering like, oh, what the heck is like causing my
Yeah.
elevated liver enzyme? And so then this is just my conjecture, but I watched a video by Richard Smith, and he was discussing how certain vegetables like turmeric plus black pepper can make a liver toxin.
Mm.
And
Really? I
so
didn't know
yeah,
that. People
yeah.
take that for pain. Yeah.
Well, guess what? I was taking that as a daily supplement on the keto diet. So I was
No
taking,
kidding.
yeah, because well, that was something that the keto community was recommending. They were saying, take turmeric every single day as a
Yeah.
supplement. And that I was doing
Oh,
that on the
wow.
keto diet. And so that tipped the scale for me. And I was like, okay, like I'm dropping all the veggies. So,
Yeah.
and so that was like after seeing like an elevated liver enzyme and then seeing Richard Smith's video about how turmeric can cause damage to the liver, I decided to just drop all veggies.
Mm.
Um,
Ah.
and so yeah, that then I transitioned the whole family to a carnivore diet after that. Um, yeah, uh, that's I haven't gone into my kid's story yet, but I just want to
Yes.
start with like my personal story.
Yes.
Um, and So, like I said, curing my allergies, curing my joint pain, and of course, all the additional benefits like, improved mood, better sleep, no more insomnia like I used to have before,
Mm.
uh, and improved energy levels.
Wow.
And then the other one that, is amazing is just not getting sick. Like I used to always
Mhm.
get, these respiratory viruses like the flu and all these things
Mhm.
like in the common cold. And now, ever since I went full carnivore, I have not gotten sick once,
Mm.
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Very good.
Uh, I haven't gotten a cold, I haven't gotten the flu, I haven't gotten any of that. So
Mm.
I found that really fascinating. Yeah, and it's been over a year, s- no colds, no anything. Yeah. So
You made an interesting point, Patrick, about information. And we all know there's so much information out there. We just don't know who to believe. It's there's keto, there's
right.
carnivore. Everybody's talking about. You can add carbs in on carnivore. You can add dairy in on carnivore. I always say to people, like, you're the research. You are the researcher.
Yeah.
So if you're eating these foods and you know something is not right, well then it's not working for a reason. You know what I mean? Regardless of what these people are doing, because you shouldn't be going off what other people are doing in the first place. You should be just going off how you feel. Like for me, I don't eat too many eggs. Everybody keeps on telling me that eggs are fantastic in the diet, but they don't agree with me. Like
Mm,
the egg yellow is fantastic. I can eat the egg yellow, no problem. But the egg white literally destroys me. Same
That's
with
true for
dairy.
a lot of people. Yeah.
Same with dairy. Like everybody kept, when I got into carnivore space, everybody was saying, go on to eat butter. It's
Yeah.
good for you. Didn't do that for me.
No,
Same
no,
when I went
there.
into keto
Yeah.
space. You know my story, Victoria. Like
Yeah.
the last thing that came out of my diet was vegetables.
Yeah.
When I came keto, and I was like, well, this is not working for me. Like you guys are telling me that vegetables are healthy. They're good. They're good for the gut. They're good for gut health. And I was like, well, how come I'm different? How come I'm walking around and I'm bloated and I just don't feel good? So I think it's very, very important that there's lots of research, there's lots of information on social media. You need to find out what works for you. And I think we can all agree that when you get like straight into the carnivore diet, that's for me that's the fountain of youth. That's where everything changes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And it is interesting that each time you cut something more out of the diet, it's like something maybe new gets fixed or something
Yeah.
gets even better. And Yeah, so like when it interestingly, because cutting out the carbs made a massive difference. Like just cutting out all carbs, going keto was huge. That cured my allergies right there, right? That was enough to cure my allergies. And then the joint pain. But interestingly, yeah, when I went full carnivore is when I that's when I learned about oxalates.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about oxalates. I had never even heard the word oxalate before.
Neither did
Um,
I. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, but when I went carnivore, immediately, like within a week or two, I had some dumping. I had painful urination and some kidney pain, um, and but that was very brief. It was actually just
Good. You're lucky.
like
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, I should say the painful urination was brief, but I have had other oxalate dumping symptoms since then. I've had like a skin rash on my leg,
Hmm.
and I've had um, well, new joint pain in my fingers that I've never had before. So like what's interesting is that all my joint pain disappeared from my knee and from my back and from my shoulder.
Hmm.
Like all that completely disappeared. But then I
Hmm.
had something new just show up in like one of my fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people say that you can have like what's called migrating joint pain, where the joint pain migrates from
Hmm.
one joint to another, um, which means like the oxalates are kind of moving.
Mm.
But I'd rather have joint pain in my fingers than in some like important part of my body that actually
Mm.
really matters a lot. Um, and Yeah, and I did have like some muscle cramps and some electrolyte imbalances. Um, I guess because the oxalates seem to bind up to minerals.
They do that,
Uh,
yes, they'll bind with your minerals. But
Mm.
Dr. Sean Baker is
mhm.
an orthopedic surgeon, and he saw most of his activity when he was in the service. And even before he heard of the carnivore diet, he was aware of the oxalate, the oxalates that have bonded with minerals they stored up in the joints. So when he's working on people's knees, he said it was almost like toothpaste,
Mm.
that he could see this substance in the joints. And I don't know if he worked to get rid of it, but he knew it wasn't part of the human anatomy. It was something extra that's in there. And that's what's in your fingers, and it's starting to dissipate, and it creates a little inflammation as it leaves,
Mm.
as it goes out the door. But that's
Mm.
actually what's happening.
Interesting. That's really interesting. So they can actually see it on the imaging.
He
They can see
saw it.
like, yeah.
Mhm. He
Hmm.
saw it in person when he was operating because he's a surgeon.
Oh, he
Mm.
saw it. Oh, so he actually opened it.
Yes,
All right,
yeah.
Mm.
interesting.
I wish I could find that video. It's a very early one, but yeah, he definitely said that.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah,
So we at some point we'd like to hear about your children's
yeah,
experience. I know you had each
yeah.
individual one had different issues, the ones that you helped with carnivore, and we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, let's do that. Um, so, right, so I have a 10-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son, and then a 2-year-old son.
Mhm.
So three boys and a girl. And so uh, I am a scientist, as you said, and so my brain is always trying to like solve problems and trying to figure out kind of like solving a puzzle, like what the heck is going on? Because I noticed that each of my kids, in particular the three oldest kids, were having different health issues, and they were sort of weird health issues that weren't easily boxed up into diagnoses that doctors could, diagnose. So it was kind of on me or on the family to figure out, what was going on. Um, just as an example, my 10-year-old son had a bunch of different kind of neurological symptoms. He had uncontrollable muscle movements where he would like spin around
Yeah.
in circles. He had some night terrors in the middle of the night where he'd wake up in the middle of the night screaming. And this is different from a nightmare because a night terror, you actually don't remember it, and it's kind of
Mhm.
yeah unconscious. And then he'd also had a very low threshold for pain, and he had um, lack of coordination in sports. So sort of like weird, just like a lack of coordination. And so, and then, so that was his symptoms, my 10-year-old son. My daughter, she was, a normal, good student, good kid, but she had violent temper tantrums. And when she had temper tantrums, she would like destroy the house. So she would like throw objects on the floor. She was actually scary to be around because she wanted to hurt people. So it's just like these violent temper tantrums, where she basically flipped a switch and turned into a monster. Um, and otherwise, she was a very nice girl, very nice person, but she would flip a switch and go crazy. And then my 5-year-old son, he was the one that I was actually most worried about because he had a special need. So at age 2, he was diagnosed with a speech delay and a 1-year mental development delay.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to go to a special needs preschool. And so I was, concerned about his mental development. And he was the one that I thought, needed maybe the most help in the family. Um, and, so like all of that was going through my brain whenever we switched diets back in 2024, 2 years ago. And I thought, okay, well, I just managed to heal a bunch of stuff in my body, like curing my allergies. Like, I wonder if this is going to make a difference for my kids. And, I had a suspicion that the diet might help because I tried a bunch of other things. Like I tried one of the standard things is to get like a great water filter. So I spent like tons of money to get like the world's best water filter. I thought maybe that was it, but it didn't really fix the problem, getting the best water filter. I also tried getting rid of like plastics from the house. I thought maybe we were poisoning ourselves with microplastics, but that didn't really seem to solve much either. But in the end, what I found out is that it was the diet that really made the biggest difference in my kids' health. And so with my 10-year-old son, the one that had these neurological symptoms, those, gradually got better and better. And he started, for example, to get much more coordinated in sports. Now he's doing Taekwondo and he's very good at it.
Really
He's
fantastic.
yeah, he's an orange belt and he's actually very good at Taekwondo. And he also, those uncontrollable muscle movements just went away.
Wow.
And
Wow.
like that where he was like spinning around, that went away too. Night terrors are gone, the low pain threshold is gone. I'll be honest that I don't exactly know the root cause of those neurological symptoms. There's different potential candidates. I've seen, for example,
Mhm.
Eric Berg do a video on how like vitamin B deficiencies can cause
Mm,
neurological symptoms.
Yeah.
And
mm,
Yeah.
so it could have been some kind of vitamin B deficiency, like a
Mhm.
thiamine deficiency or something like that. Um, and it's well known that high carbs diet do deplete vitamin B, right?
mm,
So, and that's what we were on. So that's my first hunch is that maybe it was a vitamin B deficiency. And obviously we know
Mhm.
that eating a steak is like taking a B vitamin, So, but there could have also been other issues because I know that some of the plant toxins like oxalates have neurological effects. So I don't 100% know what the reason for it was, but my guess that it was either some nutrient deficiencies like vitamin B,
Mhm.
or it could have also
mm,
been some toxins that he had to detox like oxalates.
mm.
Yeah.
Um,
I would say it was both because this is what I'm doing this at the moment. I'm working with kind of special needs and ADHD kids at the moment, and I'm speaking to the owner about this, and I'm saying like, listen, you're doing an amazing job looking after these kids in the gym, but we need to focus on their health, and you can see that they're coming from troubled backgrounds, they're overweight, like I said, some of them are dealing with ADHD, and I'm like, well, we need to focus on the brain here. We need to understand what we're actually feeding these kids. We're eating, but they're not, like you said, they're lacking in nutrients, and this is the key word here. And when you look at B12 is essential for brain health. This is why vegans would struggle if they didn't supplement B12. They would literally struggle. And when we look at the brain, the brain needs cholesterol. Every hormone in your body needs cholesterol. You can't make hormones without cholesterol. And if you're taking fat away from the body, you're taking away this free gift. You're actually this is what cholesterol does. It gives you this impetus, if you like. You know what I mean? And it's very frustrating that we see this in the world at the moment, that we know what the problem is, but everybody's convinced that that's not the issue here. The issue here is, okay, my son is probably this is born he was probably born with this. It just happened out of the blue. It's
Yeah.
like,
And
you know where I'm
overlook
going here.
timing.
Yeah, it's like,
I know what you're saying.
because at the moment we're seeing this with youths at the moment. I see this all the time. I don't know what it's like over in your country, but I'm seeing young kids as young as 6 years of age with unbelievable, incredible anger issues. Like when we look at back in the days when we were younger, we were all happy. We were out playing. We were all having a great time. We were all like talking to each other. Now it's all like screaming at each other. You know what I mean? They're screaming at each other. They're swearing at each other, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It's
And you look at and you
damaging
look
every
and then you look at the diet. It's like, my God, why are we ignoring this and not even looking at this? And we're
Yes.
saying to these kids, okay, in order for you to get all this anger out of your body, you just need to go training. You just need to go to these sports clubs. They work. They do work. They're fantastic. But that's not the problem here. We
No.
need to be looking at the root cause. The root
Yeah.
cause is you're feeding your kids poison, and this is what's leading to inflammation. So it's extremely frustrating for me because I see this where I am at the moment. I see what these kids are doing. They're doing fantastic things, training wise. They're putting the work, but it's gonna mean nothing, absolutely nothing, if we just keep feeding these kids the wrong food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you said, you have to fix the nutrition first. It's almost like, um, for example, you're trying to educate someone. The education doesn't stick if they're eating the wrong foods, like if they're toxic, if they like, if you have, for example, toxic heavy metals in your body or something, like if you have an underlying toxicity in your body, that can disrupt your ability to learn new things. So you have to fix the toxicities
Yeah.
and fix the nutrient deficiencies first, and then you can educate them. Then you can build up their physical, stamina and everything. So yeah, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've seen it here too. Obviously I take my kids to sporting activities and I see some of the other kids struggling with their health, and it's really
Mm,
sad. And I do try to talk to some of the other parents. You know, not everyone's open-minded. Some people are open-minded, and it's tough because we all know on this call that this is the answer, that this is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
that carnivore is the
Mhm.
way to go, and like you said, gosh, like so many people think it's genetic, right?
mm,
Yeah.
And and it's not necessarily their fault, it's the fault of the medical establishment who
mm,
keeps saying that everything is genetic. And it takes away people's agency. It takes away the thought that you can actually solve the problem and fix it. Because, oh, if it's genetic, that means you can't do anything. That means that you're stuck with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
and can I just add as well, if it was genetic, then why are these numbers quadrupling at the moment? Like, these numbers are out of control at the moment. You just need to go on to Google and you will see that autism and ADHD, these numbers are huge at the moment.
Now, why is it happening all of a
Why,
sudden?
why is it why is it
Happened
just
for
happening? Like,
decades.
the numbers are literally out of control. Can I ask you a question, Patrick? Like, how old are your kids?
Yeah, so my oldest is 10. So
10.
so my 10-year-old son, my youngest is 2. So it's 10, 8, 5, 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that, because this is where I am at the moment, my daughter is 24, and because she's an adult now, she's able to make her own decisions. My biggest regret is I didn't know about this like 20 years ago, because I would have taught her a different way.
Mm.
Because when I look at what I'm doing now, I'm looking at the situation, and it absolutely kills me when I have to do the shopping every week and I'm buying her this food. And I'm like, listen, she wants the cereal, she wants the carbohydrates, and I'm like, why am I buying this for my child? And I know this is actually gonna hurt her in the long run. I know it is. She's gonna end up probably a type 2 diabetic, or she's gonna really, really struggle with her health. And I'm gonna look back at this in a couple of years and say, You should have been more responsible here. You're the parent. But it's very, very hard when she's an adult. I think it's easier when you're a child because you can get your point across because you're the responsible adult in that situation.
Yeah, and they
But
Hmm.
depend
but I
on
just
you.
want to get but I just want to get your take on if your child was the same age as mine and they didn't want to go down that road, how would you approach that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really hard. And I think the hardest thing about getting people on this diet was the carb addiction, the initial uh, sugar cravings. And we all know sugar is an addictive drug. And it's best to just view it as a drug rather than a food even.
Mm,
And so uh, but it's hard to, like you said, transition off of an addictive drug. Um, what I've tried to do with random people that I talk to is I say, well, instead of forcing yourself to subtract something, try adding something. Try doing a steak challenge where you're challenged to eat a steak every single day
mm,
for the next 2 weeks or something. And if you add a steak every day to your life, then that will necessarily satiate you more and cause you to eat less carbs. It'll cause
mm,
you to eat less of the bad foods.
mm.
So that, for people, yeah, that really have addiction, I think it's just generally hard for them to subtract things. So I try to get them to add something.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No,
so
and I'm
that,
the same. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, good. You go ahead. Yeah.
Are you sure? Yeah. So I know I understand what you're saying because I'm trying to do that myself. I'm saying to people like, listen, okay, you have a carb addiction. You don't realize you have a carb addiction. So in order for people, instead of just saying to people, go straight into carnivore, you have to experience this yourself. You need to understand what the problem is here is. So I always say the same thing what you say, Patrick. When you're looking at your plate, you'll have your carbs, you'll have your vegetables, and you'll have a good source of meat. I always say choose the fatty sources instead of the lean sources. So I always say to them, okay, eat the meat first. Forget about the carbs, just eat the meat first. If you're still hungry, eat the vegetables. See how you feel then at the end. More than likely, 9 times out of 10, people are getting back to me and saying, geez, I was actually full. I didn't need the carbohydrates. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then the next day I say to them, okay, eat the same meal, eat the exact same meal, but this time I want you to eat the meat and the carbohydrates together. You'll notice that they're craving more food. They need more food. So that hunger
Hmm.
hormone is not switched off. The brain knows the sugar coming in here and it's saying like, okay, we really like this feeling, so we want more of it. So this is why we
Hmm.
have to educate people around food. Okay, you need to understand leptin resistance. You need to understand the role insulin plays. And you want to work on the hunger hormone, that satiety hormone, which is leptin and ghrelin. And when you're able to control that hormone, then you're able to control your life, if that makes sense. You're
Hmm.
able to control your health. You're able to control weight loss. Because this is where people struggle when they go on a diet. If you ask a person, okay, why couldn't you not stick to a diet? Again, 9 times out of 10, people will say, I couldn't stick to it because I was always hungry. I can't understand why I was always hungry. And when you look at what's going on in the world at the moment, these experts all over the world thought they figured it out. They thought they figured this all out by bringing out an injection to cut off this hunger. So they're saying, okay, we can't understand why you're hungry all the time, but we have the solution for you. But when I mention to people like all you need to do pretty much is just eat a steak for the rest of your life. That's it. Just eat a steak for the rest of your life, and you're going to get the same benefits from a GLP-1 injection. But they look at you and they say, nah. How can we convince these people that this is the healthiest route you're ever going to take in your life? Whereas the medication, you have no idea what this is going to do to you in the long run.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the real we convince people whenever they actually try it out. Like I feel like whenever they really try it out for a couple weeks, then they're like, "Wow, I feel better." And it's like that's the problem is like we have to just get people to try it for a month or something, and then it really sinks in. Like, oh, I didn't realize like I would have a better mood and I would have more energy and yeah, and then I would quickly lose weight and all this stuff. So yeah. Um, But yeah, I agree it's a challenge. And of course we're being fought by special interests, as you said, who want to make money off of people getting sick. And I do view this as kind of a bit of a war, frankly,
Mm,
where we want to get our message out to truly help people and truly fix their health. And then there's other people who want to get their message out, which is, fighting against our message. And I do think it's kind of good versus evil, frankly,
mm,
and so because when you go on a carnivore diet, it doesn't just fix one symptom, it fixes
yeah,
like everything, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you know,
And see,
uh,
and like you said, Patrick, it's so important because when it's your family, you don't want to see any harm come to your family. You really don't.
No.
Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Us as parents, the last thing you want to see is your kid's been fed poison. And that's pretty much what it is. You can look at it whatever
Yes.
you want, but at the end of the day, you're feeding your kids poison. There's no nutritional value in these foods whatsoever.
No.
And you're feeding, and then you'll hear parents saying, "Oh, but I can't restrict my child from these foods." Yes, you can.
Hmm.
Yes, you can. Like, what is
mhm,
the problem? These kids are missing out on nothing by you feeding them properly. So I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Oh, I have to give my kid sweets. I have to give my
Hmm.
kid chocolate. Why? Why can't you not make your own?
mhm.
What, like
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you can make your own treats.
yes. I wanted to, under that subject, I wanted to go back just a little bit, Patrick, and ask you how your daughter and your
Yes.
5-year-old son
Yes.
fared on carnivore with the temper tantrums and the developmental
Mm,
delay.
Right. Yeah. So my daughter, she's 8 years old. And like I said, she was, already, perfectly normal kid, did very well in school, but just, maybe like once a week she would have these violent temper tantrum. And that has largely gone away, and she no longer has violent temper tantrums. And she rarely even has any temper tantrums at all.
Mm-hmm.
If she does have a temper tantrum, it's maybe like, um, once a month, and then it's not violent anymore. So it's more just like, oh, she's crying or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so so her violence problem is gone. Actually, she's
Good.
not violent
Good.
anymore. And we're obviously happy with that. And how do we explain that? I would love to know the science behind it. Like, it's really hard to find good scientific resources on temper tantrums, right? Like, who's
Mm-hmm.
doing research on that? And I have dove a little bit into, there's some work on nutritional psychiatry, and there's some talk about copper zinc imbalance. So, like,
Yeah.
basically, if you have too much copper and too little zinc, then this can lead to temper tantrums. Copper is kind of estrogenic, and it also tends to lead to anger and rage and mood problems. Carnivore
Mhm.
diet is one of the few diets it's actually the only diet where it doesn't lead to zinc deficiency. Like, so many people out there have zinc deficiency because the phytic acid, which is in the grains, causes zinc deficiency. So anyway, that's my theory. That's my theory, which is that, probably she had like copper zinc imbalance, like very,
mm,
very low zinc, very high copper. Um, but carnivore can kind of balance the minerals out properly. With my 5-year-old son, so yeah, like when I tell my story, I like to focus on my 5-year-old son because that's really where I feel like we've had the biggest impact. And
Mhm.
so whenever, like I said, he was 2 years old, he was diagnosed with a speech delay and a 1-year mental delay. And I was just completely baffled. I was like, what is going on here? And then at age 3, just 1 year after that diagnosis, I got him on the keto diet, which I said eventually turned into the carnivore diet 6 months later. So, and throughout that first year on this meat-based diet, this keto carnivore diet, I just noticed he was really getting smarter. And I remember we were at a birthday party with one of his classmates, and one of his classmates came up to me and he said, your son is learning really fast. And I was like,
Really?
who says that? Like, who says that to, like,
That's
a kid's
wonderful.
parent, right? And so I was, yeah, and then after a year on the diet, I had a parent-teacher conference with his preschool teacher. And like I said, this was a special needs preschool that he was going to. And um, we had to go over his, disabilities, right? And so, and she said, well, you know what? He doesn't have any mental disabilities anymore. So he's actually fully caught up to grade level, and
Wow,
he doesn't have any mental disabilities.
that's
So,
fantastic.
yeah, and that's what his preschool teacher told me. And she's like, he's at grade level. He's a normal kid. So, and
Wow.
that was
So,
and that was one
yeah,
year into the diet. Um,
fantastic.
and we didn't give him any medicines, no pharmaceuticals, nothing,
Hmm.
right? The only thing we gave him was a meat-based diet, right?
Mm.
And so that's what it was. And interestingly, now he's 5 years old. So that was when he was age 4. So now he's 5 years old. So it's like maybe 8 months later after I talked to that preschool teacher. Um, and he is ahead in math. He's advanced. He's actually now he's in kindergarten, but I have him doing second grade math. So
Wow.
he's 2 years
Wow.
ahead in math, and
Excellent.
yeah, but still on a strict carnivore diet. So his like all of a sudden his intellectual abilities just shot up, just like his IQ went up, and also he used to not be able to sit down and read a book before bed. So like before he got on the diet, he like we'd say, oh, time to read a book before bed. No, he would not do that. And kind of like a ADHD type symptom, right? So after he got on the diet, he's like, okay, let's read a book before bed. He was calm. Like it changed his demeanor from being like agitated to being calm and relaxed. Uh, so yeah, that's a story that I feel like was the biggest success in our family, taking a special needs kid, turning him into a normal kid, and then now he's actually advanced in math. So
So
yeah, that's the story.
wonderful. What a great
Yeah.
story. Oh, it's just, I'm so happy to hear that.
It's
And you
amazing.
got
It
the,
really is. Yeah,
you
these
got the,
these stories are just incredible. They really are. It's just like, and isn't it amazing that we have these amazing stories, and people are just not listening. They're
no,
Mm,
still convinced that's
crazy.
it's
It's
one out, it's
crazy.
one out. Yeah, it's one out of a million. Your child is just lucky. It doesn't happen
mm,
to every child. It's like why don't you not just give it a go? Like, why don't you just try it? How can you keep on saying to people that it's never going to work? Like
No,
mm,
it's just for
mm,
me personally, and I don't know you, Patrick, but I would do anything, absolutely anything for my child. And if
mm,
someone, if I heard a podcast like this, I can tell you right now, before I go down the medication route or look to get advice, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna do my own research here because for me, when I came to carnivore space 6 years ago, the biggest thing for me was, and I've said this on many podcasts, was how I was mentally alert. I was able to think better because I struggled with my mental health. I was a weak man. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was a weak man, and nobody could see it. You might looked at me and say, okay, this guy was confident. He looked confident, but I was weak, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out why all of a sudden I just can't think better. Um, I was always making mistakes. Constant brain fog. My speech was all over the place. Even writing stuff down was all over the place. And I was getting to that stage where I was forgetting things like very quickly. And I
mm,
was only in my mid 30s. I was like, why do I keep on forgetting things? Like simple things, leaving the key in the door and then walking away and leaving and coming back say 6 hours later. And it's like, oh my god, I left the key in the door.
mm.
Small things like that. But now it's
Right.
different. It's completely different. Like I can't explain it. You guys know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
mentally alert.
Yes.
I'm just on it. I'm not like even speaking to you guys now. I'm confident in what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Whereas if you had spoke to me like 10 years ago, I would have struggled to have these conversations, if that makes sense. Because I struggle with dyslexia, and this is a big thing for me. Whereas now this has actually helped me like push that to the side. I'm I just feel now as I said, I'm on the next road to recovery, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Well, that kind of success makes us all food activists, and I know that Patrick has claimed that that's what he's doing now. So could you tell us a little bit about what your food activism entails, and
Yeah.
about any outlets you're using, platforms?
Yeah, thanks, Victoria, for asking. So, I started first just by making flyers, and I thought my thought process there is that I do think, as you all know, that there is an effort by special interests to kind of silence the spread of carnivore diet on social media. I think a lot of carnivore posts get sort of suppressed. And so
Yes.
I just got worried that like anything you post, di on digital media could be suppressed. And so I thought, well, you can't suppress a flyer, right? So I'm like, all right, so let me just like print out a whole bunch of flyers about the carnivore diet, and I would just carry them around in my pocket, my pants. And so anytime this happened to come up, and I would sometimes try to encourage these things to come up in conversation with people, I would hand them out. And especially if someone was a parent, right? If someone had children, I would try to tell the parent, like, oh, have you heard of the carnivore diet, right? And then
Mhm.
I would, because I think people resonate with the story that I just told you of, taking a special needs kid and turning him,
Wow. Yeah.
fixing the problem, right? And so just as an example, I I found that people who are really receptive to this are people who actually sell meat. So when I go to the farmers market, and buy meat from the ranchers, naturally,
Hmm.
I especially try to tell the ranchers like, hey, look, you guys should try carnivore diet. Your food, your product is my medicine. Um, and uh, and I have gotten some of those people to, try carnivore. I even got a veggie salesman at the farmer's market. There was a guy who sells veggies, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, look, I used to buy your product. I can't anymore because I'm on the carnivore diet, but here's a flyer on the carnivore diet." And then
There you go.
a month or two later, he came back to me. He's like, "I'm on the diet now."
No
Yeah, yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
good for you.
yeah,
Bravo.
and he's like, and so now I see him regularly at this market, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's going great. Like, and he listens to all the carnivore doctors. He listens to Ken Berry and Anthony
Wow,
Chafee and stuff.
wonderful.
So, and he sells veggies for a living, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's
And
too funny.
yeah, so anyway, so that's the first thing, which is just handing out flyers to people. Um, and I also did start a Discord server. So my view is that like we discussed, carnivore diet is great for everyone, regardless of your age. But if you're young, it's even more beneficial. Like if you're like a child, like you're developing your brain, and you can transform someone who's special needs into a non-special needs person just by intervening at a young age. And so I've tried with my Discord server to focus on that aspect of things, of thinking of carnivore as a kids health movement. And so the title of my Discord server is it's called Carnivore Families. It's about basically how do you try to incorporate carnivore diet not only for yourself but your whole family if you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And spread it to your loved
Love it.
ones. Yeah.
That's great
Um,
idea.
yeah. And there's a lot of we talk about some of the interpersonal drama of trying how do we deal with carnivore whenever our family members disagree with us,
Mm.
like how do you
Yeah.
deal with like your spouse disagreeing with you, or someone else in your family disagreeing, and we talk about like the challenges of that. And obviously the more people in your social circle that you can convince to be carnivore or be similar to you, like the more supportive it is environment it is. Um, so yeah, so I have this Discord server that, I can share the link for where people are welcome to join, and
Yes,
that's what we,
you do.
yeah. And we've heard some amazing stories from people there. And just as an example, there's a woman who's on the Discord server and based in Mexico, and she had a 2-year-old son with autism, and she put him on the carnivore diet for a month, and his autism went away, believe it or
Wow.
not.
For God's
Like
sakes. Really?
after 1 month on the carnivore diet, she managed to cure her son's autism.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she got the anyway. So that's just an
Wow.
example of like some of the people on our Discord server. But um, yeah, and then of course, I have like bigger ideas about how we can make, you know, our community better, but I'm still pretty much in the idea stage. I do worry about the beef supply because I worry about
Mm,
that a great way to attack our community is to attack our food supply.
mm,
Yeah.
And so I worry about, do we need, for example, carnivores to get more involved in the meat supply, more
Yes.
involved in ranching and meat packaging. So I'm just, I have ideas brewing there, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm not sure if I myself have to become a rancher or if I can just like support other ranchers there. But I'm open to hearing other people's ideas. Yeah, but anyway, those are just some of the things that I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I love what you guys are doing. I think that anyone with a YouTube channel focusing on carnivore is doing a great service to the community. And you guys are activists as well, like me, I think. I don't know. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
absolutely. And
You have a
this is
channel too. I'm
and
sorry.
this is why we need more yourself, Patrick. Because
Mm-hmm.
myself and Victoria set this up a year ago, um, like we did this for that particular reason, to let people hear the
Yeah.
different side of the story, because that's all we're seeing at the moment at social media is like everybody's just saying the same thing: high fiber, hot calories, low cholesterol. Everybody's doing this.
Hmm.
Everybody in the world is doing this,
Wow.
and they're still struggling with their health, and they have no idea what's going on. And when they go to see the doctor hasn't got a clue either, because he was never taught
No,
anything about nutrition.
they don't. They don't know. They simply don't
So
know.
so the, so these people are struggling. Our kids are struggling. Like I mentioned earlier on, nobody seems to have the answers. Everybody's just convinced that this is meant to happen as we get older. It's genetics.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, hang on a second. Why aren't we not questioning this? Why aren't we not
Right.
looking at this a little bit deeper?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this agenda being pushed? Why can't
Mm-hmm.
we not just work together? Okay, why do you keep on convincing me that you've got a PhD, you know what you're talking about? Okay, you've got a PhD, you know how to prescribe medication to people. Me, I've been doing this 6 years now. I've worked with over 200 people, a lot of people. And in those 6 years, these people dealt with an awful lot of chronic illness situations. And I'd say about 95% of them have been put into remission, or they have been managed properly without medication.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we ignoring this advice?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, just explain it to me. Why? Because I'll
Well.
never
Right.
understand. Because I'll tell you why. I've been working in this industry now for over 30 years. Okay, just over 30 years. I used to get people coming to me and saying to me, Mark, you got me in amazing shape, but now I'm a type 2 diabetic. Mark, you got me in amazing shape, but now I've got arthritis. You got me in amazing shape, but I'm still dealing with mental health issues. I hadn't got a clue how to answer these questions. Hadn't got a clue. So I was saying, listen, you're better off going to see your doctor. The
Hmm.
worst advice I could ever give these people. So when I look back at it, I look back at it in shame, because I let these people down. I let these people down. And that's why those certificates that I have, that I got from um, college years ago to become a qualified PT, they're in the bin now. They're
Hmm.
gone. I don't use them anymore. I'm doing this now. It's amazing, because 6 years I have never studied anything as hard in my life than the carnivore diet.
Hmm.
Like, every day I'm learning this stuff. I'm
You're
having these
right.
chats. I'm having these chats with yourself. I'm learning more. I'm having conversations with people. I'm like, I never knew that. So I'm gathering more information on a daily basis, and this is what I want. So when I get to that situation when these doctors are asking me these hard questions, I can answer them straight like that,
Yeah.
straight away, because I have the confidence to speak that way, and I have the backup because of the amount of people that I've worked with.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
totally agree with that. I'm learning every day too. That I think I told you I'd never heard of the word oxalate before I started the carnivore diet. And on YouTube, I changed my handle to Oxalate Warrior, and that's part of my activism because I feel that that word has been censored. I feel like there was a conscious effort to suppress the word oxalate to make sure it's not part of our daily vocabulary. Um, and I've been through the whole education system. I got a PhD, from good university and everything, but I got a master's degree in biochemistry, a PhD in chemical engineering, and yet I never heard about plant toxins my whole life. Never heard a
Wow,
single word about plant
that's
toxins.
astounding. That's
Yeah.
astounding.
Yeah.
I
And right. And the only time I first heard it was from like Anthony Chafee, right? And
Mm,
and so I tried to like just say that word oxalate, for example, more often and put it in my profile just so people have to hear the word. So like, and then they can look it up or whatever. But that's part of my activism, is to also just spread the word about plant toxins, because I think that's actually the most powerful way that we can sell the carnivore diet, because most people, like 99% of people, still think that veggies are healthy.
mm,
Yeah,
Right?
unfortunately, yeah.
And even though in the US we're changing the nutritional guidelines, they didn't say anything about plant toxins in the new nutritional guidelines.
Exactly.
mm,
Yeah.
So people still think that veggies are very healthy. So I think we still have a lot of work to do just to get the word out there.
mm,
Um, and yeah, but there's, for example, there is a study linking oxalate to autism, for example. So
mhm,
like they found that actually um, in kids with autism, they have much higher concentration of oxalate in their urine than kids without autism,
mhm,
which implies that the
Hmm.
kids with autism are trying to actually excrete oxalate out of their
Yeah.
bodies, that they have oxalate overload in their bodies.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like it's a hidden lurking cause of chronic disease that people sort of don't know about. But I just wanted to echo the fact that I am learning more on the carnivore diet than maybe I even learned in my formal education,
mhm,
like what you were saying. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
honestly it's incredible, and I love it. I absolutely love waking up every day and thinking to myself, I'm actually going to learn something new about carnivore today, and
Yes. Yes.
I just get excited. I get excited get bringing these people on, like the likes of yourself, Patrick, and just giving me more information about this. Because I'm picking up. This is why I'm writing this stuff down, because I'm writing stuff down. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I
me
didn't know
too.
that.
I've got my notepad here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know what I mean. And then what I'll do is I'll actually look at this again tomorrow, and I'll be like, okay, that little bit of information I didn't actually know that, but now I do. So I'm just
Mhm.
gathering all this information, and I've got like 6 years worth of research from writing all this down still in front over there. And every now and again, I'm reading through it. And when I wake up every day, the first thing I'm thinking about is this diet and how I can potentially help people. Because
Yeah.
every morning I do the same thing. I'm like, okay, as everybody sends me on these videos, they're always asking me to call out these people on social media, and I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it because it keeps me accountable.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So people want to know about calories, they want to know about cholesterol, they want to know about LDL, training, all this stuff. And for me, because I have so many videos on this, I'm like, I'm never going to stop doing it because I want to keep learning. So every
Yeah.
video that I do, even though I've got about 50 videos on calories, every one of those videos there's something different. It's not the same thing. I'm not focusing
Mhm.
on just calories all the time. I'm talking about the law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
I'm talking about issues with hunger. I'm talking about insulin not insulin. I'm talking about just insulin on its own, and the
Mhm.
importance of leptin resistance, GLP-1. It's all tied into the calorie model, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why I just love gathering this information. And I think the more we gather this information and then we do these kind of interviews, if we can just help one person in the world to
Yes.
Mhm.
change their life, and they're saying, you know
Right.
what, these three have actually made my decision. I might actually do carnivore. Our job is done.
Yes. That'd
Mm.
be wonderful. That's my
You know what I
aim
mean?
too. And yeah, Patrick, it's been wonderful talking to you. This whole conversation is so inspiring. Certainly your story and the story of your children. That's our future. So if we can
Mhm.
help them, if we can improve their situation. And something as simple as changing their diet, well, not simple, but something as elementary as changing
Mhm.
diet. It's a great thing. It's a great inspiration.
But
Right. I totally
before
agree. Good.
before you go, Patrick, I need to ask you the question. If somebody's watching this and they're in a desperate situation, um, what advice would you give these people?
Desperate with their health, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if there's like they've done everything, they're running out of options, they're on medications, they know
Mhm.
something's not right, whether it's gut health, brain health, they just know something's not right. What advice would you give these people?
Right. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think that uh, like I said, my usual advice to people is I tell them to first try the steak challenge, which is like force yourself to eat a steak every day for say a week or two. And that usually gets people to eat less carbs, just, most people, and then I would try to ask them to transition over to, after doing that steak challenge, to do, say, a keto diet where they manage to cut out the carbs and then
Hmm.
transition from keto to carnivore. I mean, that's, uh, a reasonable progression. But I don't want to like hit them up front and say like, you got to cut out everything up front, because I know
Yeah.
that's hard. But I mean, if they have the desire to do it, then obviously they should go straight to carnivore if they can. And But I would say like the biggest step, the biggest hurdle that people usually have to go through is to kick their carb addiction. I think and once you get past that hurdle, it's uh it's smooth sailing. Like it's very easy to cut veggies after you've cut carbs.
Mm,
So, but what I would say is that just also you have to question everything. Like that's part of our community and why it's so successful is that we've questioned all the standard dogma, and everything points to the fact that the standard dogma is wrong, and that our deep ancestors, our ancestors thousands of years ago or tens of thousands of years ago, were carnivores, um, and and that the greatest tragedy in human history was the agricultural revolution.
mm.
That's was the
Yes.
thing. Mhm.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So.
Unfortunately, it was used to suppress famine, but it should have been just a stopgap, not a lifestyle.
Mhm. Right. I guess, are we out of time now? Um,
No, you can
Um,
go ahead. You can
okay,
keep
yeah.
continue.
Okay, yeah. So, just saying that, different arguments work on different people. But for some people, they really resonate with like this sort of ancestral way of eating. Like study your ancestors. Study, like Anthony Chaffee talks a lot about how people survived through the Ice Age, right? By with no plants. There were no plants in the Ice Age. So how did they survive?
Mm,
Meat was the only thing they could eat. So that sort of resonates with some people, and then some people survive just by, or some people, resonate with just like debunking the myths. Like you said,
mm,
I think, Mark, you do a lot of this myth debunking of like, fiber is not an essential nutrient. There
mm,
is no essential carb. And you just go down the list, like every single myth, we can debunk these myths. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease, like all these
mm,
things. And so what I do try to, the advice also that I give to people when trying to spread carnivore to their loved ones is to view it as a very gradual undoing of the brainwashing phenomenon. It's like a waterfall eroding a rock. Like it doesn't happen, on the first day. It happens gradually over time. You have to undo decades of brainwashing that people have been subjected to, and so you just have to every day try to work on your loved ones, to try to spread it to them, and debunk these myths. But I realize I'm going tangential, but I think that, yeah, in giving advice to this person who's struggling with their health, I would say, you just have to try it because carnivore appears to be the panacea. It appears to be the cure for everything. It appears to be the cure for, heart disease, Alzheimer's, for every mental disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar.
yes. So
It appears,
surprising and true. Yes. A
yeah.
baseline for that, for health.
mm,
Right. So if for whatever reason you get, some people just get on the carnivore diet to lose weight. And I have to laugh at this because like, okay, well, you just managed to discover the panacea by trying to lose weight. So, right. And then you're never going to have any chronic disease just because, you tried this. So, however you can get on the carnivore diet is a good thing, right? For whatever reason. But it is, I think, we have to be clear that this is very crucial. It's almost like a life or death kind of decision. It's like, this could like double your lifespan or something. Like whether you live to age 50 or age 100 could be determined based on what diet you choose. It's that crucial of a decision.
Yes, it is.
So, all right. Well,
Wow.
that's all I want to
Thank
say.
you.
Well
That's
said. Well
wonderful.
said.
Yes. So make sure we get all your links and we'll put them under the description. I should have this out by Saturday night.
Okay.
And we're very
Where
pleased
can
to have
people go to
you.
find you, Patrick?
Yes, tell us.
Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. And so they can, go on YouTube. And occasionally I'll write Substack posts, although it's rare. But I think, yeah, probably YouTube is the best way to find me. And then my Discord server. So
And
the Discord
Discord.
and
Okay, I've
Discord,
got
yeah.
them down here. And I'll get the links too.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you,
Thank you
Victoria.
for
Thank you,
being
Mark.
with us. It's
No,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Pat. And we'll keep you on, Patrick, when we cut this off. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
sounds good.
Okay, well, bye now,
Thanks for coming
everyone.
on.
Okay, bye-bye.